Hello and welcome to another edition of Only in Illinois, your weekly video recap from Reboot Illinois. I'm Madeline Duback here with Matt Dietrich, and we are less than a month away from the March 15th primary election day, and we're starting to see a lot of strange political bedfellows and shenanigans.
And you had a post on rebootillinois.com this week that included both of those things: strange bedfellows and shenanigans.
Absolutely.
What's going on?
Double bonus.
Well, Michael Madigan is the most powerful politician in Illinois politics. What's going on in his race?
Well, he is running against a young upstart challenger by the name of Jason Gonzalez, who you have talked to before. And apparently he's not taking anything for granted, because he reached out to one of the more progressive and independent longtime politicians in the Chicago and Cook County area, Jesus Chuy Garcia, and asked for his endorsement in this election. And I spoke with Chuy, who said he's never done anything like this before, but the speaker called him and asked to sit down with him, and they talked through several issues, and Chuy said he gave it a lot of thought and decided that Jason Gonzalez wasn't really rooted in the district and was a nice enough young man, but he thought it was important to be with the speaker on this one to block Governor Bruce Rauner from his anti-union, anti-teacher agenda.
Now, Chuy Garcia is an extremely big name in Chicago politics. Took on Rahm Emanuel in the 2015
just last spring
mayoral race. But he and Madigan, of course, are both Democrats.
Right.
What's the big deal about Mike Madigan going to Chuy Garcia and asking for his endorsement?
Well, I've been paying attention to Mike Madigan for several decades now, and I don't recall ever hearing too many stories about the speaker calling anyone to ask for their support. But in particular, in this case, if there are two factions of the Democratic Party, Mike Madigan would be on one end of the spectrum and Chuy Garcia would be on the other one. And Chuy Garcia and other liberal progressives like him are usually railing against the powers that be in the form of the Michael Madigans of the world.
Right.
So pretty unusual. Some people have suggested that Chuy Garcia did this because he'd like to get some help from the speaker to become the next Cook County court clerk should David Orr retire sometime soon. I don't know whether that's the case or not, but I wouldn't rule anything out at this point.
Okay.
And interesting that Bruce Rauner has really become kind of the chief boogeyman in all of these campaigns. I've been getting literature at my house from water reclamation district candidates decrying Bruce Rauner and saying they're going to lead the charge against Bruce Rauner.
And of course, the first question that I asked Jason Gonzalez when I talked to him back in December, shortly after he had filed his candidacy, was, are you a plant by Governor Bruce Rauner? Did Governor Bruce Rauner put you up to this? And he was very emphatic that no, he was not put up to it.
Well, that's the big speculation of this election season. And it wasn't helped by some tweets that documented the fact that some campaign, no parking signs popped up in front of the Gonzalez campaign headquarters with a parking ban until March 16th.
Until the day after the primary.
Right.
That's right. So there's your shenanigans there.
Exactly.
Well, and everybody, and you talk to people about these things, and they ask, does Jason Gonzalez have a chance of winning? And Jason Gonzalez is basing his candidacy, and he says he thinks he has a really good chance to win. What he says is, turnout is so low in these primaries, and he's right, it's in the 20% range, that he doesn't have to win that many votes. And the other thing is that Mike Madigan's district, the 22nd House district, has changed over the years. You know,
Right.
Madigan's represented it since 1971,
Right.
and it's gone from a very Irish and very white ethnic district to a predominantly Hispanic district. You know, Gonzalez, he's a lot younger. He's going to appeal to a younger crowd.
Right.
So there is something to that. But boy, he's really, you couldn't pick a bigger target.
Right, and so that is precisely why Speaker Madigan, being the astute tactician that he is, reached out to Jesus Chuy
Of
Garcia for support, because it is a majority Hispanic district now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so even though Jason Gonzalez says he was not put up to this by Governor Rauner,
Right.
and we should mention too that Jason Gonzalez now has about $111,000 in his campaign fund. Bruce Rauner is not one of his donors.
Okay.
You have a lot of interesting donors on there. Blair Hull, the former Republican Senate candidate, is one of the donors. But Michael Madigan, in the meantime, has
A little more than that?
a bit more. I think he's got a couple million. So there's an imbalance there between resources. Plus, Michael Madigan controls not just his own campaign fund, but Democratic Party.
few others.
He's got a lot of resources that Jason's not going to have. But there is another angle to this whole thing involving Bruce Rauner and that
Right.
and Mike Madigan, and that's going on in the 5th House district. That is Ken Duncan's district, and as we all know, if you've been following Only in Illinois or Reboot Illinois, Ken Duncan really ran afoul of Mike Madigan and a lot of the Democratic caucus, for that matter, because he didn't support a couple of bills. Especially, he didn't support a bill that would have substantially reduced Bruce Rauner's bargaining power with the state's largest state employee union, AFSCME Council 31. Duncan didn't vote for that. He missed a vote, and then he was there and didn't vote for it when they were trying to override Governor Rauner's veto of it. Therefore, Ken Duncan now has a primary challenger, Juliana Stratton, in his district, and that is shaping up to be a massive proxy war between Governor Bruce Rauner trying to protect a Democrat who voted against a union, took a very unpopular vote, and you have the unions and by extension Madigan as well getting very much behind Juliana Stratton to take Duncan out on March 15th.
So you've been looking at the money in this race for quite some time, and you took another look just this week, and you had a hard time counting it all.
Well, the big thing was on February 1st, Ken Duncan, liberal Democrat, received $500,000 from the Illinois Opportunity Project, which is a...
Speaking of strange bedfellows.
Exactly right. It's a libertarian, very conservative, but very anti-union think tank and nonprofit. It's a so-called dark money organization. But because another super PAC had done a couple $100,000 worth of campaign work on behalf of Ken Duncan, term limit, or not term limits, but campaign contribution limits no longer apply in this race. Therefore, the Illinois Opportunity Project was free to give as much as they wanted to Ken Duncan. They gave him $500,000. On the other side, you look at Juliana Stratton's campaign fund, and just in February, you've seen hundreds of thousands of dollars from unions pour in, including I think about $138,000 from the Political Action Committee of AFSCME Council 31. That's the union that Rauner is negotiating with on the big state contract.
Right.
They are the ones who really opposed or who really supported the bill that Ken Duncan would not support. So what you have in the 5th is a proxy war between Rauner and Madigan over, you know, who's got more protection, who's stronger, and who is going to sway the balance of the Illinois House of Representatives. It's very significant because if Ken Duncan is reelected, Mike Madigan
doesn't have a
veto-proof majority because he needs all 71 members right now. So if Ken Duncan becomes the candidate in this district, and the Democrat's going to win in November. But if he wins this primary and Mike Madigan can't come up with a victory and he can't take out a Republican somewhere else, Mike Madigan still is left without a working supermajority. So it's a pretty big deal.
So the stakes are pretty high.
Yeah.
And so this one's already breaking campaign spending records for a House.
Yeah, and we're 2.5 weeks.
House rep race.
Yeah, we're 2.5 weeks out, and they're already pushing $2 million in this race, and that's far and away more than what had ever been spent in a legislative primary race before.
So we hear a lot about the presidential election, but there's some pretty fascinating, more local races going on, and it's time for everybody to start paying attention. Voting's already begun. It's time to start paying attention, doing your homework, making up your mind. These are ones to watch because of their larger spheres of influence,
Right.
and we'll keep watching them for you and tell you more about it at rebootillinois.com, and I'm sure on future editions of Only in Illinois. Thanks for watching.